Woohoo indeed. Hello everybody, this is Daffy Duck, the Marvin missions, played for the Looney Tunes thread. My name's Tallman, and I'm going to be your guide through this intergalactic, side-scrolling, platforming, shoot-'em-up adventure in which we stop Marvin the Martian from blowing up the Earth, building an army, or whatever diabolical scheme he's working on. This game was made by Sunsoft in 1993 and released for the Super Nintendo. It seems as though Sunsoft made quite a few Looney Tunes games throughout the 90s. This is the only one I've ever really played. This one and a Speedy Gonzales game I had on the Game Boy, which was terribly boring. I'm giving myself a couple extra lives because this game can manage to be pretty stupid at times. This game I had rented a couple times, but never got really far when I was a kid, so this thread inspired me to go back and revisit it. So I figured, why not make a couple videos for it? How the game works is there's 5 worlds with 3 levels and a boss fight at the end of each. And you basically go through the levels, fight the boss, and you stop Marvin from doing whatever. This first level is a resort planet called Magma. Don't know why they would build a resort on a planet that's mostly made of lava, but whatever. Before each level you can visit this kind of like a store and purchase special weapons, fuel for your booster, or extra lives or continues. I'll explain what these weapons do. As we go on. I hope you could hear it. I kind of talked through part of it, but at the start of each level there's a little bit of voice acting in which Daffy Duck says, "Duck Dodgers." So, this game, the controls are a little janky. You tend to slide around a little bit, and it's not even a nice level. The enemies are kind of weird, and if you haven't noticed by now, every time you shoot, you kind of get pushed backwards a little bit. This is both annoying and helpful. It's annoying when you're trying to stand still and shoot something, but it's helpful if, say you're out of rocket fuel for your jetpack, which you just saw right there. You pretty much just hit B while you're in the air to do it. If you're out of fuel, you can actually use your blaster to get a little bit of a boost on your jump. So it can help you reach some high places without using some fuel. Even if you have fuel, it's good to save it. I think I'm pretty good on fuel for most of this world, but I know in some of the later worlds I'll probably be running out quite a bit. So the enemies are kind of weird, as I mentioned before, and this first level does a pretty decent job with just kind of introducing you to the mechanics of the game. You only really see 2 enemies. These cacti, I guess, that just kind of stand there, and those weird dudes in the wall. We've come to the end of the first level where Marvin grows up some instant Martians, which go down easily to the bomb gun, which is what I was using against them. It's a very strong weapon that fires a bomb out, of course, that bounces along the ground a little bit and explodes upon contact. Now, in this level, it kind of showcases one of the main problems I have with this game. As you run, you are a little bit closer to the right side of the screen. If you're running to the left, you'd be a little closer to the left side of the screen. But being so close to that edge means enemies kind of come out of nowhere, and you take a lot more damage than you really feel like you should. It's a bit of a problem. It's not too bad. It could be a lot worse, but it is what it is. So, the first level was pretty straightforward, but starting in this level, the levels kind of get a little more varied. As you saw, there's an elevator. I could have gone up or down, but I saw there was a little continue point, the little purple square with an arrow on it, which in later levels can actually be really helpful to kind of point you in the right direction, because some of those levels are really confusing. But you can take as long or as short as you would like on these levels. I think pretty much here I pretty much go on the straight path. I've been picking up some ammo for these special weapons, so instead of buying them, you can actually find them lying around in certain places. And I also picked up what looks like orange juice. I can't really tell what it is. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be. But it restores all your health, and the game is actually pretty generous with health pickups. I don't know if on the hard difficulty if it gets, if there's less of them around or what, but at least on normal it's fairly forgiving in that regard. So overall, this isn't a very good game. But hey, I mean, if Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout is good enough for the thread, this game should be good enough too. We've come to the end of the second level, and the boss is pretty much just a rehash of the first level. 2 more instant Martians to fight, and I died, unfortunately. I just wanted to show off what happens when you die, I guess. So the main point of going to this planet and stopping Marvin is apparently he has abducted the galaxy's greatest politicians or something, and so we're going to save them. I don't know why he just couldn't have stood up before, but whatever. Okay, now on to the third level, and it's slightly more roundabout than the second one was. Our old weird wallman buddy makes a return. And one thing I'd like to point out is you can't really hear it sometimes because I shoot more than I have to, and with the way the sound is, it kind of covers it up. But every enemy upon death has this terrifying scream and drops a little bag of money, but it just sounds so painful to die on this game. And every enemy has this thing. The Martians, those dudes in the wall, the cacti. Pretty much the only enemies that don't make this noise are Marvin, and I guess mini-bosses as well. I think some of them do as well. But whatever. Found some ammo for what I think is the 3-way gun, which I used on one of the boss fights, if not 2 of the boss fights so far. It's not a very helpful gun. I just kind of got it to show it in this video because this is the easiest world. And what it does, it's kind of like the wide beam or the spacer beam from Metroid, where it shoots three different ways and kind of covers a lot of ground, but the shots are a little bit weaker than your regular shot. But if you can hit something with all 3 shots, of course that makes it worth it. Overall, I think I really only will be using it on this level, because there's better guns to get, much better guns to get. And I think... no, we're not near the end. Yeah, there you go, there's that scream. It's terrifying, isn't it? And another thing I don't like is the game generally has very poor level design. I know I said some of the levels are kind of roundabout and you don't really know where to go, but sometimes there's just dead ends for no reason, and that shouldn't happen in games. Like right here. There's nowhere for me to go, and so I have to turn back. And really both those ways up there were dead ends, so that was just a completely wasteful area. And see right there, I just kind of walked into the enemy because I was too close to the front of the screen. The game kind of punishes you for trying to go fast. Here's a little shortcut I found, and I think it takes you pretty much straight to the boss, which is, once again, just 2 instant Martians. Here's the freeze gun, which I'll probably be using a lot later in the game to bypass some enemies. It doesn't really do much damage, but it's pretty helpful. Especially when the enemies in later stages take a lot more hits to kill. And I'm actually close to death here, so I took it really carefully. I managed to not die, which is very nice, and I saved that other politician. So we're coming up to the first boss fight, to the end of the first world, and I took some damage as the screen scrolled up. This boss fight has 3 forms, the first being this little buzzsaw, and it's pretty much a good strat to just stand right under Marvin and shoot upwards. However, when you have to jump over the buzzsaw, sometimes it doesn't line up with his shots and you'll take a hit anyway. This is the easiest part of the fight, and all you have to do to dodge it is, well, do what I do. Stand right under Marvin, and when it comes up, run to the other side. It's a little bit long to do this, but it's very safe and you should never get hit. You never have to jump, so you never have to worry about getting hit by Marvin's shots. There is a third part to the fight, which is also pretty easy. This is just an easy boss fight. In fact, most of the bosses in this game are pretty easy. But here's the third form, and you can't actually hurt Marvin until it switches. Once he takes a certain amount of damage per form, you cannot do any more damage to him until the new part comes up. And as you can see, this one just kind of sporadically goes around and shoots at you. It's not very difficult, and you should use your special weapons here. I kind of blew my bomb gun on the first part, but hey, all's well that ends well, I guess. So that pretty much wraps it up for the first world, and now we get to read some newspaper headlines showcasing our heroic deeds. Tune in next time to see how our adventure continues, and as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day.